missions. She is the Capcom for today. She is a backup Artemis II crew member. Those calls from pilot Victor Glover asking about a feature he was seeing, specifically a crater on the moon. Meanwhile, the team here in the science evaluation room was actively working together to determine which feature he was describing. The teams at the window have continued to move through their targets, including Ohm, Aristarchus Plateau, Reiner Gamma, and we are preparing for the cabin and window teams to swap. That's when we'll hear more from Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen when they take on these support roles, while Christina Cook and Victor Glover are at the windows photographing and annotating. As we briefly mentioned, if you look towards the right side of the moon, essentially, this live view coming from a camera outside the Orion spacecraft, and if you look on the right side of the moon where you see those dark patches.
Wow, yeah, I wish I had some more time to just sit here and describe what I'm seeing, but the Terminator right now is just fantastic. It is the most rugged that I've seen it. From a lighting perspective, there are little islands. There are islands of terrain out there that are completely surrounded by darkness, which indicates some real variation in terrain. Up to the north, there is a very nice double crater. It looks like a snowman sitting there, in the 5-10 degrees below the pole in the Terminator. And then on the southern edge, there's almost like a hole. It looks like a hole, and it's the diameter of Vavilov size, just blackness, and then a wall of bright. And then it goes back to the black beyond the Terminator. So there's it looks like there's just a gigantic hole right there. 1 Vavilov diameter east of the Terminator. And as you go south, the Terminator is not a nice smooth arc. It's just jagged. There's almost a 110-degree turn in the shadow as opposed to the nice smooth arc, again indicating some really interesting variations. And I'm sure we'll get some photos of that. And then one of the craters further to the south of Vavilov, maybe halfway down to the South Pole, is not only looks like just a deep hole, and then there's like 2 island rays pointing off to the west and north that indicate very high ridges and very deep canyons coming up out of that crater. So again, just some really interesting visual illusions going on with the shadows there. Like I said, there look to be islands out beyond the Terminator, because some of the things, maybe even a Vavilov diameter into the Terminator are catching sunlight on the peaks up to the north and to the south. It's very, very interesting to see.
Integrity Science, oh my gosh, that was an amazing picture you just painted. I glanced over at the SIR video and I literally saw fist pumps in the air. Those types of observations are things that humans are uniquely able to contribute, and you just really brought us along with you, so thanks for that.
Questo risponde alla domanda perché
That's awesome, Kelsey. Did you get a SITREP updating you on a slight change in logistics for PCD use?
Christina, this is Houston. We did not, but we will take it now.
We slightly changed the PCD plan for the window observers. The two window observers kept their PCD. So in other words, the one that window 2 went to window 3 and the one at window 3 went to window 2 when they swapped rather than staying at the window 2 when they swapped rather than staying at the window. We'll plan on all observers keeping the same PCD for all observations.
Copy, Christina. That makes sense to us, and good plan. We are coming up here on a cabin and window team swap. Let me know when you're ready for a quick vehicle status.
As you heard, Science.
Houston, go for the vehicle system update.
Howdy, Reed. We don't have much for you. We just wanted to let you know that toilet right now is no-go for use as we stick with the predetermined limit for now. All crew members, please use CCUs. Otherwise, Orion is looking very good. And you have 15 minutes in this handover time where we expect Victor and Christina to switch to the windows and you and Jeremy to be in the cabin assisting. Let us know if you have any questions.
No questions at all, and they're in the swap right now. The first thing I'll tell you, I floated up to the docking hatch window and just what I'm going to call the Mari around Oriental just looks so different out the docking hatch right now. It's quite a bit darker. It's the same darkness, if not a little darker than Grimaldi, but it's cool after just being in the 400 mil for the last half hour. Looking up close, I got pictures of everything Ike was just describing on the Terminator. It really is a fascinating Terminator. And then Oriental just looks so dynamic right now. It's very three-dimensional out the docking hatch compared to what I was just looking at through the 400 mil.
We love it. We are getting a sneak preview from one of our SAW cameras at what you're looking at, and we see some of what you're describing. We cannot wait to see your photos. Thanks.
Yeah, Jenny, I wish you had some longer lenses on the solar array so you could see the whole moon, but man, it is, or the up-close moon, not the whole moon, but it is just fascinating here. It's so cool.
All right, MPO and Inco, take notes. We want a zoom lens on those saws next time. Thanks, Reed.
Affirmative.
Come se volessero sottolineare l'importanza del volo umano.
As the crew gets ready to switch positions from the window crew going back to the support crew and the support crew flying up to the windows, this view inside the room, Capcom Jenny Gibbons speaking with the crew, Canadian Space Agency astronaut. The crew has continued to provide excellent descriptions of what they are seeing on the lunar surface. In this picture, or in this live view actually, from Orion and a camera mounted on its solar array wing, if you look at the dark portion on the right side of the screen, those are visible from Earth. That's considered the near side. Those are ancient lava flows from a time early in the moon's history when it was volcanically active. And if you look towards the left, there's that dark, large crater that appears above, to the left of those lava flows. That's Oriental Basin. It's about 600 miles wide, and it straddles the moon's near and far side. And this mission is the first time that humans have ever been able to see this with their eyes in the daylight. Again, you hear conversation about that terminator. You have a great view of that as well. That's the difference between light and darkness on the moon. Victor Glover explaining that as a very jagged looking terminator due to the peaks that they're seeing and the craters that they're seeing as they prepare to cross over the far side.
Prima volta si vede il Mario Kart con l'occhio illuminato.
You also heard science officer, the Dr. Kelsey Young, Artemis Science Flight Operations lead, sharing with Victor Glover that his responses are truly something that only human eyes can discern or provide. So we've previously discussed how having humans observing the moon on this mission is being combined with lunar robotic data to help us maximize what we know about the moon. So part of that data comes from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, or LRO. This orbiter provides the robotic foundation that makes Artemis 2 lunar science possible. LRO has been orbiting the moon for 17 years, which makes it the longest operated lunar orbiter in history. And it's also the only American spacecraft dedicated specifically to lunar science and exploration. Artemis 2 lunar observations are designed to complement data like the detailed surface images from LRO. So while LRO provides those detailed high-resolution maps of the moon's surface, the Artemis 2 crew adds human observations that focus on regional context and relationships between features, giving scientists a larger geologic picture. Now, this combination of robotic and human observations strengthens lunar science. LRO delivers precise and repeatable measurements over long periods of time, while the Artemis 2 crew contributes real-time visual descriptions and context that robotic instruments alone cannot provide. The best description I've heard while preparing for this mission is to compare the difference in looking at the moon with your own eyes on Earth and trying to take a picture with a camera. The camera truly never does it justice, and it's much easier to describe and perceive what you're seeing with your own eyes than to take a photo. These Artemis 2 astronauts can rapidly scan wide areas and adjust their focus in real time, as well as describe relationships between features. The crew will also observe the same regions multiple times under changing lighting conditions during the flyby and provide perspectives that would take robotic missions years to accumulate. During the Artemis 2 mission, LRO is also attempting to observe some of the same lunar features that the astronauts are studying. Collecting this data simultaneously highlights how different instruments and human eyes provide complementary information about the moon. This LRO data plays a direct role in preparing for future Artemis missions. Its measurements of topography, surface temperature, composition, radiation, and lighting conditions are used to assess hazards, identify safe landing sites, and locate potential resources such as water ice near the lunar South Pole. This mission, Artemis 2, represents the point where years of robotic preparation are paired with human exploration for the first time in the Artemis era. So together, LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, and Artemis 2 are demonstrating how NASA moved from mapping the moon robotically to exploring it with humans. We are laying the groundwork for future Artemis missions and sustained lunar operations. A check-in with Orion. We are now 4 days, 21 hours, and 22 minutes into the flight of Artemis 2, our crew aboard the Orion spacecraft. We are now 8,153 miles away from the moon, 250,742 miles away from Earth. The spacecraft is traveling at 1,030 miles per hour.
Qui la dimensione angolare della Luna adesso è superata, sta stato. Questa immagine storta.
observer is now in seat 2. That is where Victor is, and Christina is nestling into seat 1 with the long lens, and we're just getting ourselves oriented here. It's a cool view in the cabin. It's actually a cool view to be off the camera now and looking at my crewmates getting up to their observation post and looking in. It's super fun.
Copy all, read. We like it.
Come noi il resto sta telecamera è proprio qualcosa di minimo indispensabile. Vediamo se non massimo della risoluzione si vede qualcosa. Sì.
As we heard confirmation from NASA astronaut and commander of Artemis II, Reed Wiseman, they are now switching positions of the support teams and the observation teams. So initially, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen were at windows 2 and 3 in the Orion spacecraft, taking photos and making annotations in their PCDs, portable computing devices. They were also giving audible descriptions into their PCDs, wearing headsets with microphones and providing recordings that the science team will be able to listen to later. We were hearing from NASA astronauts Christina Cook and Victor Glover as they made observations as part of the support team. Now, as these teams are swapping, we anticipate hearing more from Reed and Jeremy as they'll be on the support team, while Victor and Christina will be at the windows taking photos and making annotations.
Secondo questa schedula mancano 2 ore. Anche a questi 4 giri di ore. 2 ore e mezzo. C'era scritto 23:06. Stamattina, chest. No, adesso non proprio più. Vai. 12.000 chilometri. Siamo quasi a fare. Siamo all'apogeo della Terra. Che la Luna è all'apogeo, ieri si capiva perché gli ingrandimenti necessari per farla entrare nello schermo erano insolitamente grandi. Allora. A luna di notte per la massima distanza e al flyby invece alle 23:06. Quando inizia il silenzio radio. Comunque 23:06 flyby.
And checking for the science team if they can mark this time. I just covered up window 4 to block out the ambient light from a very bright planet Earth. And it'll be interesting to see if in the data Victor and Christina see any differences from me and Jeremy with that window blocked. It's a lot darker in the cabin now.
Copy, Reed. We're taking note, and we'd be curious too.
Cioè se tra un'ora e 6 minuti stanno al punto più vicino alla Luna, dovrebbero anche essere nel pieno dell'ombra. Può iniziare l'ombra, almeno un'ora deve ancora girare.
We are live in the Artemis mission control room during the lunar flyby of the Artemis 2 crew, the first humans to fly by the moon in over 50 years. Orion launched 4 days, 21 hours, and 30 minutes ago atop the SLS rocket, Space Launch System rocket from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Our 4 crew members inside the spacecraft are transitioning their positions. The cabin and window teams have swapped. Currently at the window, we have Victor Glover and Christina Cook, NASA astronauts, and serving as support, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. For our crews at the window, they are using handheld Nikons with an 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. There are also GoPros on each of the solar arrays on Orion, and that's where this view is coming from right now. We have an interior camera of the crew as well, but they have dimmed the cabin lights. They've actually turned off the cabin lights to allow them to better see outside of the spacecraft. This also helps prevent any reflections from lights inside the spacecraft reflecting onto the windows while they are photographing the moon.
Come nell'antichità ce le spediscono col muro, portoni. Questa attitudine di vintage è interessante. Sono di controllo di Houston. 21, 11, così 21, 12, 12. Facciamo il confronto con quella di prima per vedere se è un cartonato. Oppure se sta facendo vedere veramente quello che deve vedere. Perché a questo punto la differenza in chilometri, 460 km/h, non è tantissimo, però stiamo agli ultimi chilometri, quindi ci dovrebbe essere una differenza. L'una è 22. Qui prendiamo il diametro, sono 253,476 pixel. Il diametro in pixel è di 539 pixel. Alle 22:12, che è l'ultima immagine che abbiamo preso, il diametro è 270 per 500, anche 272. Sì, aumentando. 272 per 508 sta aumentando. È diventato 576 pixel, mentre prima erano 539. È aumentato del 7% in 10 centimetri, sì, 12 centimetri. Quindi non ci stanno mandando un'immagine fake dal garage come pensano i terrapiattisti, ci stanno mandando veramente da lì. Beh, come verrebbe anche da pensare, insomma. Qui il terminatore loro non lo possono spostare perché dipende dall'orientamento della Luna rispetto al Sole e quindi possiamo solo vedere un po' meglio i crateri della faccia nascosta della Luna. Questa immagine che l'astronave precedente ha descritto come molto scuro, il mare orientalis, e che è stato sottolineato essere la prima volta 21, 15 e 38 l'immagine che ho preso prima. E a giudicare dal fatto che la Luna stia sulla destra dello spacecraft, la si girerà dalla sinistra. Quindi sarà sorvolata la faccia nascosta della Luna, è giunta anche in ombra, non so cosa vedranno. Cioè la Luna è illuminata dalla luce delle stelle, ma loro hanno delle finestre che sono tipo grandi così, che non vedono nulla. Hanno fatto il buio dentro la cabina, ma è un buio comunque molto limitato. E il tempo a disposizione è pochissimo. Altra fotografia. Fin quando mi dicono, tra poco andremo nella faccia nascosta anche radio. L'orologio avanti esattamente 100 secondi. È un errore sistematico. Quindi riceviamo dalla Luna un segnale. Rimane molto scuro. È questo. Riccioli è questo qua. E Riccioli è quello che ha dato il nome più gravare della roccia visibile. Giovanni Battista Riccioli, gesuita, suo amico Grimaldi, anche lui gesuita, è quello che ha scoperto la diffrazione della luce nel 1644, però è morto prima di lui. Grimaldi ha fatto ha dato questa nomenclatura e poi è stata universalmente accettata nel Novum Majestum nel 1651. Il mare orientale non è accessibile, neanche con la vibrazione più spinta da terra. La prima immagine che abbiamo avuto del mare orientale, non mi sbaglio, è proprio quella di Lunar 3 del 1959. I grandi mari, quindi quelle che noi chiamiamo le macchie lunari, le facce sulla Luna, la faccia, San Giorgio sulla Luna, quello che è, si vedono solo sulla faccia, rivolta verso la terra, sempre. Probabilmente questo è dovuto alla dinamica degli impatti asteroidali all'epoca del bombardamento pesante subito dopo, più grandi impatti sono avvenuti da quella parte, provocando la fuoriuscita di basalto, quindi rendendola nera. Le superfici dei mari più nere delle terre, che sono le superfici più chiare. L'albedo della Luna è medio il 5%, quindi asfalto. Rispetto a questa navicella che è smaltata a titanio, qualche pittura particolarmente adatta a riflettere la luce del sole, vedete il colore è completamente diverso, la Luna è smorta. Anche se poi la notte la Luna domina la luce del cielo naturale. Eppure, qui ci appare proprio per la sua scarsa riflettività, mentre la riflettività di queste parti della navicella è molto più alta, soprattutto le parti bianche, perché parti grigie sono forse comparabili. Con queste descrizioni le potrebbe fare anche sta facendo anche gli astronomi. Non certo per quanto riguarda la navicella, ma per quanto riguarda i crateri che avevano sulla Luna. Hanno parlato a lungo di Aristarco e credo che sia questa luce che vediamo vicino, questa qui deve essere vicino al terminatore, vicino al lembo, e il terminatore invece è nella faccia nascosta, mare Moscoviense, vari dedicati a molti scienziati russi che sono stati citati in queste memorie. Adesso è il caso di fare un'altra foto. Vediamo quanto è aumentato. Andiamo ore 21, 24, 20. Diametro polare 268 per 509, aumentata anche rispetto all'ultima versione. Sono 268, 509, 575. Precedentemente era 539, quello dopo era stato vediamo. Era 539 il punto di partenza, 37 l'incremento, quindi forse siamo 540 più 37 sarebbe 576, 575 stiamo uguale. Ormai sta andando a distanza, vediamo la telemetria, Questa qua sopra. Distanza dalla Luna che cambia di un metro, cioè pochissima differenza, quindi le misure che sto prendendo con i pixel sono del tutto plausibili. Adesso ho cambiato le camere, ho messo una peggiore. Con zoom. Ah no, questo live. Evento storico, senz'altro. Il 350 anni dall'ultima missione. Lunare. Di quelle che sono scese sulla Luna era quello che rimaneva sull'orbiter, che si vedeva la faccia nascosta, e gli altri passeggiavano sulla Luna. La telemetria ormai viaggia a 108 metri, 10 minuti, 100 metri sono su 11.000 chilometri, sono abbastanza poca roba. No, aspetta, questi sono 11.560 chilometri, perché le virgole loro le usano come migliaia, e non ci sarà verso che cambieranno questa cosa, già che ci hanno concesso di vedere il chilometro. Successo che in una missione spaziale si sono incasinati degli hard e hanno fatto pasticci. Vediamo un po' che dice questo sito di YouTube, quanto la gente li sta vedendo. 51.000 watching. Wow. Neanche tanta gente, su 8 miliardi di persone, di cui la metà sono collegate. Zittiti. $50.000 stringhe, basta una partita in chiaro di una squadra di Serie C2 per fare questo numero di audience. Scattata la foto. 1:34 30 secondi. Ora solare. Rifacciamo il diametro da corno a corno della Luna. 263 per 517. Qui 517. No, questa sta 263 al quadrato, 517 al quadrato, uguale, radice 580, sta aumentando piano piano. Ma tra 30 minuti siamo al punto più vicino. Così detto fly. Volare attraverso, volare vicino. Parola che ho conosciuto per la prima volta con io Voyager. Facciano i loro fly vicino ai pianeti. Quello che seguì con maggior passione fu il flyby da Saturno nell'estate del 1981. Quando poi si incagliò in mezzo agli anelli la telecamera, minacciando di mandare tutta la missione al Remember. Cosa che invece non successe. A 400 km all'ora è la velocità di un treno dell'alta velocità. Non sulle reti italiane, ovviamente, ma su quelle francesi, quelle giapponesi pure. 1600 km all'ora. Siamo mega sicuri. Siamo a maggiore velocità del suono. Concordo. No, 0 km all'ora no. Allora, qui avevo capito che questi erano km all'ora, invece sono questi qua sotto. Quindi siamo oltre la velocità del suono, 1200 km orari e 330 km al secondo. Velocità del suono sulla terra. Ma che ci gira aperti? Come si fa questa cosa?
So Victor is on the long lens, and Christina is just looking out the window. And I'm sneaking a peek in T-shirt window. It looks like, I don't have the best angle here, but it looks like Aristarchus is on the limb of the moon now. It's amazing how quickly it changes as we speed around the far side of the moon, stuff that's leaving our field of view. And now we have a lot of the dark side of the moon that, it's missing for us right now, but it would be in view if it was lit at all.
Jeremy, Science, thanks for that sit rep. Do have a question. A few times we've heard you and the other crew describe change during the course of your flyby. Would be interested in future descriptions of more verbosity about how it's changing. Thanks for the great sit rep.
Yeah, Kelsey, sounds good. We are definitely keeping an eye on that. My eyes have just not readjusted. The moon is so bright when you come back to the window. I was just in the interior of the cabin. I've come back to T-shirt window, and it's just overwhelming brightness. And my viewing angle is a bit challenging, so I won't be able to give you great observations from this window. But I will talk about something that I was talking a lot about in my recordings earlier, which was we've been talking about some shades, and so we have obviously the dark and the light gray, and then we've talked about naming some colors, a brownish hue and a greenish hue. And I'll tell you, like right now, Aristarchus, the plateau is hard for me to see from this window, but that had greenish hues to me and was very unique. I didn't see anything like that anywhere else on this side of the moon. And then I see a lot of these, what I would call brownish hue areas. There's a number of them. And they, for example, in the northwest corner of the highlands, to me it looks like the brownish hue is caused by ray or ejected material landing on the highlands, and then we obviously see the ray areas as a lighter albedo, but in between the rays where the deposit would be thinnest, that is what it looks like is causing the brown to me. So I saw that on the northwest side of Aristarchus that dark area of the highlands, northwest side of the highlands. I saw it in the highlands to the east of Glushko, and then I see those same brownish hues west of Oriental. And I drew a contact there on OneNote, but that's a huge region, kind of like a piece of pie with the point of the pie pointing at Oriental and then going up towards the northern side of Hertzsprung. And that is an area that just looks like that brownish albedo.
That was fantastic, Jeremy. We had heard rumors of the green and brown hues, and so you really read my mind on asking about those. Understand they likely didn't have any contact with each other the way that you described them, but please correct me if I misunderstood that. And then last thing, I'll make the same offer we made to Victor earlier. If it would be helpful for us to verbalize any targets so you can stay at the windows and keep your eyes adjusted to the moon, please let us know.
Sono le tecniche che si usano anche per l'osservazione astronomica tradizionale, cioè raccontare al registratore quello che si sta vedendo.
If you got something you want us to look at,
Per
Kelsey, you can
una
put it on up.
consigliare risorse fondamentali.
Definitely not looking to interrupt your flow, Reed and Jeremy, only offering assistance if you guys want to keep your eyes off of the PCDs.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
Copy.
151,130 miles from Earth. The spacecraft, as Victor Glover and Christina Cook are now at windows 2 and 3, able to photograph the moon. Christina and Victor are also providing recorded information to their portable computing devices, that's their PCDs, and the science team will have access to that at a later time. They will then review it and compile all of this data to help further our understanding of the moon. One of the items you heard mentioned was Oriental Basin. This has been a very exciting opportunity for the crew. They have all been very excited about seeing Oriental, as well as the science team has been looking forward to it. It is known as the Grand Canyon of the Moon, as we discussed earlier. From the pictures, the science team is hoping that the crew will take centered images of the entire basin and surrounding craters in a single frame, but also use those 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lenses to create a mosaic entire basin. With their unaided eyes, the science team is hoping the crew will describe southern dark annular ring, which you heard Reed just describing, as well as any color, albedo, texture, or topography across the mare patches and ring mountains. Science team reports that the observations will be used to study the geologic evolution of the youngest lunar basin and to inform formation hypotheses for the annular ring. And again, another fun fact about Oriental is the diameter is the same distance between Johnson Space Center, where we are today, and Kennedy Space Center, where the crew launched on April 1st. By observations, meaning they are using the Nikon cameras to photograph the moon, and their PCD, or the portable computing device, to conduct annotations. They are both recording information that will be downlinked to the science crew. And tomorrow morning, the science team will have a conference with the team while the information is so fresh. They'll be speaking with the crew about their observations and their data collection. Otherwise, most of tomorrow, Flight Day 7, is considered an off day. And adaptability that only humans can provide. This mission, Artemis 2, is serving as a proving ground for lunar science operations, which allows NASA to test how science is planned, executed, and supported during a crewed deep space mission ahead of our future Artemis flights.
Integrity, time for a window team position swap. SD card for the camera.
Last comments.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. Mission elapsed time, 4 days, 22 hours, 12 minutes into the flight of Orion. This is Lunar Flyby Day for the crew aboard the spacecraft. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen are now the farthest people to have ever traveled from Earth. This a live view from inside the spacecraft. They have turned off the lights so they're able to see outside and photograph the moon better with no reflections from inside. And for a very brief moment there.
Integrity Science, thanks for those iPhone views. It's helpful to see what you're seeing.
Very briefly saw NASA astronaut Reed Wiseman showing a picture he took on his phone of the moon. We do expect to get all of the photos that the crew is taking today, and we cannot wait to share some of those with you. But pretty cool in the meantime, just to see one quick shot from what the crew is seeing. And this view from outside the spacecraft on Orion's solar array wing. Orion is now 6,643 miles away from the moon and continuing to grow closer. Again, their closest approach will be about 4,066 miles. The best comparison is if you held a basketball at arm's length. That's about what it would look like to the Artemis 2 crew at their closest approach.
Questa è 22,52. Sei 666 diventando rossa.
This view showing at the very top, a camera coming from Orion, continuing their flyby of the moon. We have 3 more flyby observation blocks after the completion of this one. Down on the bottom left of your screen, that's the SIR, the Science Evaluation Room, where team members are continuing to work through all of the targets that the crew is photographing today, and they've helped identify some of the craters and some of the other items that the crew has seen on the moon's surface. Down on the right is Artemis Mission Control here in Houston. Those 2 rooms down at the bottom are just down the hall from each other.
Questo controllo incrociato, oltre a dare da lavorare a tutte quelle persone.
And we are just a few minutes away from the next cabin and window team swap. That means Victor and Christina, who have been at the windows, will fly to the cabin, the background essentially, and be their support crew for Reed and Jeremy. Reed and Jeremy will move back up to the windows.
È una cosa molto umile, ma anche molto utile. Io, al mio piccolo, quando cercavo di identificare quello che vedevo al telescopio, con la Luna ho fatto un poca fatica, perché le mappe lunari non sono immediate. Il terminatore mette in evidenza strutture che sulla mappa non sono la stessa evidenza, quindi c'è bisogno di 100 occhi per capire esattamente cosa stiamo inquadrando con i nostri, o col telescopio, o con le telecamere. Che questo lavoro si debba fare in real time e che queste 4 persone che stanno lì debbano fare questa sorta di avvicendamento alla finestra. Mi sembra una cosa che da una parte è l'unica cosa che farei io se fossi lì, dall'altra però mi dice un po'.
The crew is continuing their discussion portion of the flyby in the lunar targeting package, where it says far side albedo/color. They are looking. The science team is looking to get a good understanding of what the crew can see on the far side at this point, and its brightness as well as any colors. We did hear earlier Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen reporting that they could even see browns and even greens on the moon. I'm really looking forward to seeing those photos. And in just a couple of minutes, the teams will swap from the cabin to the window.
Cioè questi green e blu, poi alla fine non vorrei che sono effetti delle lenti della famosi.
Another rundown of just how this flyby is choreographed inside the spacecraft today. So these activities have been timelined, and there are these 5 blocks of time during which the crew is going to be observing the moon from Orion's windows. Now we are just coming up on the end of the 2nd block, and we'll start the 3rd soon. So at any time during those blocks, 2 members are at the windows working in a pair. One is taking photos from window 2 and has a blue shroud over the window to help prevent any reflections from inside the spacecraft. They are also using an 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. And the other astronaut on the window team will be in window 3 using their portable computing device to make annotations. Now, again, both of those crew members are making audio recordings of what they are seeing, and we are not hearing that right now. Those are going to be downlinked later to the science team, who will evaluate them and use that data to inform our understanding of the moon. Those 2 crew members at the windows swap roles.
Integrity Houston, it is time for another swap between the cabin and the window team. So we have 15 minutes of handover time, and then we will expect Jeremy and Reed at the windows and Christina and Victor at the cabin. I have no new vehicle updates for you, but I do have a photo location. For some photos on Ike's PCD. And
Okay, Jenny, we copied most of that. The only thing we're missing is what you meant about the photo location on Victor's PCD. And hello to my family. I think that must be Catherine and Devin that are there. And I'm glad they made it into the viewing room. And we copy it's time for crew swap. The A team's coming out of the windows and the B team's going in.
Okay, copy. All I meant to pass for Victor's PCD is that there are some late load photos that were requested that are now in his favorite photos folder. And you're exactly right. We have Catherine and Devin here. They give you a big wave, and they're super excited and happy to see part of what you're seeing.
Trecento 11,614.
Okay, copy, Jenny. We're not sure what we're looking for in the PCD, but we're going to poke around and we may be calling you back about that one.
All right, that's no problem, and it's unrelated to flyby.
Si vede che stiamo girando a sinistra perché l'oceano delle tempeste si sta schiacciando sempre più al terminatore, quindi ci giriamo di così.
This is Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And as you just heard, Capcom, or Capsule Communicator Jenny Gibbons, Canadian Space Agency astronaut and Artemis 2 crew backup, relaying to the teams in Orion that it is time for a swap from the cabin to the window teams. We're now at the tail end of the second lunar flyby observation block. Again, we have 5 of these today. Most recently, Victor Glover and Christina Cook were at the windows photographing and making annotations, while Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen were in the cabin providing support, whether that is SD card help, but also science sit reps, calling down any situation reports for what they are seeing on the moon or anything about the vehicle status. With that call to make a swap, Reed and Jeremy will be back at the windows, making observations for what they see at the moon and taking photos.
Cambia la prospettiva e la faccia nascosta è visibile solo metà. L'altra metà illuminata dall'altra la conosciamo benissimo. Però tra poco arriveremo alla dicotomia. C'è la luna, quarto di luna, che tirando la linea giù di qua è P, quindi è un primo quarto di luna, visto però da fuori della Terra, molto fuori, esattamente a 90 gradi. Con il Sole a una distanza pari alla Luna.
Again, you're watching live coverage of NASA's Artemis 2.
But something that's really awesome up here is we now have the moon and the Earth in window 3 simultaneously, and the moon and the Earth in window 3 simultaneously, and the moon is a gibbous and the Earth is a crescent. And I'm guessing in about 45 minutes we'll have two identical crescents as we change our position in the universe.
That is pretty darn cool. Thank you.
22:03 e 20 secondi.
That's the Artemis 2 crew, the first astronauts to fly by the moon in more than 50 years, reporting that when they look out of window 3, one window, they're able to see both the Earth and the moon at the same time now. Now, obviously, our view is from a camera on the solar array wing pointed at the moon, and we hope to see that view of both the Earth and the moon soon.
Sì, perché allora 90 gradi del sole in questa posizione.
Some upcoming times for what you can expect. In about an hour and 40 minutes, we will have Earth set. And during that time, we will have a view of Earth going behind the moon. Shortly after, just a few minutes later, we will lose signal with the Orion spacecraft. This is tracked as it is going behind the moon and out of reach of the Deep Space Network. At 6 o'clock p.m., the spacecraft will make its closest approach to the moon at a distance of about 4,066 miles. At 6:02 Central, the spacecraft will reach its farthest distance from Earth at about 252,755 miles. Of course, these are approximate, and we will make sure to provide you with the final distances once those are confirmed. At 6:21 p.m., we will have Earthrise from the Orion spacecraft, but we will not have communications with the spacecraft until 6:25 p.m. Central, when we expect to acquire signal with them after they've emerged from behind the moon.
Mi sono perso tutte queste informazioni, orari, eccetera. Con la Terra che si vede da una finestra senza la Luna. E che poi si vedranno due crescenti.
Again, you're watching live coverage of NASA's lunar flyby for the Artemis 2 mission, the first crew to fly beyond the moon in over 50 years. The astronauts inside the spacecraft are switching positions, 2 at the windows and 2 serving in support roles, before they start their third timelined flyby observation for today. We've heard great calls from the crew so far describing what they're seeing, all well trained by the science team here on the ground. Another major milestone for the crew today will be to experience a solar eclipse from their capsule. No one on Earth will experience this solar eclipse. To the astronauts, this will look a lot like a total solar eclipse on Earth, except the moon will be huge compared to the sun. Whereas if you're standing on Earth and looking at a solar eclipse, the moon and the sun appear to be about the same size in the sky. As the moon begins to cover and then uncover the sun, the astronauts will see a partial solar eclipse, so that's before and after totality. And during that time frame, they will have to wear eclipse glasses so they can safely view this phase. They also intend to capture images of the sun's corona during the eclipse. This is a rare glimpse at the innermost corona that will only be captured by the astronauts' cameras. During the eclipse, we also look forward to the crew members describing what they will see, which includes unique light features like the shape and size of the corona and potentially even lunar dust. At the same time, Venus, Saturn, Mars, and Mercury will be near the sun, so they may be able to identify what part of the sky they're looking at. This can help train future Artemis astronauts on what part of the sky they're seeing, which is useful knowledge in challenging situations when they may need to rely on that information instead of instruments for navigation and orientation. That eclipse window will last about an hour, and it'll happen near the end of the day today, closer to 7:35 p.m. Central, 8:35 Eastern.
Magari UTC no, uno se ne fa i conti, questi orari. Quindi dietro la Luna si divertiranno con le eclissi, ossia vedranno la corona solare, interna, esterna, goglio, si cominciano a vedere bene, sta facendo. Allora, 22:09 e 30 secondi.
As you can see in this live view from Orion, the spacecraft is maneuvering around the moon, and the views of the moon have changed since we started our broadcast. The near side is now very far to the right side of your screen. This is the side that we can see from Earth. That darkened portion are ancient lava flows. The crater down towards the bottom of the moon is Oriental, and this is a crater that was previously never seen before by human eyes until this mission. Everything to the left of Oriental is considered the far side, and this is what we typically do not see from Earth.
Eppure orientano abbastanza invisibile. Perché se si vede qualcosa si vede come adesso stiamo facendo con la croce del destra, la striscia.
Just a reminder about this view. This is coming from a GoPro camera mounted on the tip of one of Orion's 4 solar arrays. Each solar array has a camera mounted on it, and the bandwidth is limited due to we have a crew on board, and this is our first flight of crew aboard the Orion spacecraft. So having a crew means we have to have an environmental control and life support system. There's a lot of data around, a lot of data to bring down for the crew members to keep us up to date on everything happening aboard the spacecraft. So we have to share our bandwidth when it comes to imagery and data.
Ho messo l'immagine brutta.
Inside the Orion spacecraft, the astronauts have completed their cabin and window team swap, meaning we have moved into the next block of lunar flyby observations. Jeremy Hansen and Reed Wiseman are now back at the windows, taking photos and making annotations. About halfway through this block, they will switch positions at the windows and will be prompted by the ground to do so.
C'è tanta storia dell'astronomia in questa procedura che stanno seguendo. Ore 22, 13 e 30.
Houston Integrity for SITREP. First of all, I'll just talk about the experience that I had during Victor and my observation time. It was an incredible experience. We definitely noted how much more you can see with the zoom lens. Even though we have a great visible eye image, there's just a lot of texture that just pops right out at you when you can zoom in. So almost just using it like a telescope, the camera lens. We really enjoyed our discussion time. That was a great innovation on the lunar targeting plan. We were both able to describe a lot more kind of with flow, I would say, when we were talking to each other. And it was also, we sort of were able to bounce ideas off of each other and come to new conclusions. We had, I think, a very successful talking through of some contacts between different color areas, both in the mare and in the highlands, and we identified some really unique texture areas as well. At one point, towards the end of the images of my time in window 3, I just had an overwhelming sense of being moved by looking at the moon. It lasted just a second or two, and I actually couldn't even make it happen again. But something just drew me in suddenly to the lunar landscape, and it became real. And the truth is, the moon really is its own body in the universe. It's not just a poster in the sky that goes by. It is a real place. And when we have that perspective and we compare it to our home of the Earth, it just reminds us how much we have in common. Everything we need, the Earth provides, and that in and of itself is somewhat of a miracle, and one that you can't truly know until you've had the perspective of the other. I'll switch into some logistics stuff. The Peltors, both their batteries stopped providing the active listening, but we have verified they are still recording, and so we are able to have discussion time and hear outside our recordings by just moving the ear cup off of the ear. Other than that, everything's working well technically, and we've been able to find all our targets, and we're having a really great time.
Thanks, Christina. We copy those logistics for the Peltors, and also thanks for bringing us into the cabin with you with that description.
Siamo quasi alla dicotomia,
Right on time. NASA astronaut Christina Cook, a mission specialist for Artemis 2, calling down a science SITREP, a situation report. Good news, reporting that she and her teammates have been able to capture all targets that were listed. Christina also gave a vibrant description of just how it feels to be there and to see the moon up close and not just something passing in our night sky. Currently, the team members at the window are Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. Meanwhile,
Integrity cabin team for window shroud.
Vicino al terminatore stavolta il terminatore occidentale, vediamo riccioli primari che sono abituati a vedere al contrario
We're listening. Go ahead, Jenny.
orientale.
Hey, Victor, we have a temperature constraint on the windows, and the shroud might be getting us close, so we just want to check on the state of window 4's shroud, whether you believe it's still necessary because maybe things have changed with our viewing, and if so, we would like to request to have the shroud removed.
Houston, we believe it is necessary. We pulled it off just as a corner. It is very bright. It definitely would affect our night vision and maybe comfort. But is there a time? Can you tell us when we would have to take it off by?
Unfortunately, since it's been on for a while, we are going to have to request that the shroud is removed, and we can recommend something that could block the light but just create a bit of distance between the window and whatever is covering it. Something like a T-shirt would do the trick and help.
Okay, we're removing the shroud, and we'll make it work. Thanks.
Thank you, Victor. We know it's pretty bright in there now with that window uncovered. We will also offer that airflow on the window would be helpful. So if you want, you can also retrieve the condensation hose, which should be friction fit onto one of the diffusers. And that on the window would also help.
We can easily point a diffuser at the window, so we're going to start with that, and it's pointing at the window now.
Okay, we'll take that, Victor. Thank you. Please keep us updated.
Atlantico andando a Rio de Janeiro e tutte queste cose capitano nei finestre, l'umidità, i riflessi. Ho visto la pioggia nel mese di ottobre 2011, l'8 ottobre, quando andavo verso la Cina e si chiamava
That call from Capcom, Jenny Gibbons, CSA astronaut and Artemis II crew backup to the crew aboard Orion, letting them know that they will need to remove the window shroud they had placed on window 4. They initially placed that shroud there to block out some of the light from the Earth. It was extremely bright coming in the cabin and interfering with some of their viewing opportunities out at the moon. This was a request from ground teams to ensure that they are protecting other systems, and the crew has been offered the opportunity to use something else to cover the window. Meanwhile, Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen continue with their lunar flyby observations. They have just looked at Glushko crater. That's about when we heard that call down from Christina Cook with that description of everything she had been seeing during her observation period and what she was seeing at that time. The science team asked this crew to take centered images of the entire crater and their ray system in one frame. They're also interested in knowing the brightness, texture, and extent of Glushko's rays and how they differ in the mare, or that sea area, versus the highlands. Glushko is considered a young lunar crater, and these observations can help understand material properties of those craters.
Science, integrity. First, I wanted to start off with connecting with what Christina said, that it was very moving to look out the window. I had the unfortunate sequence to start looking out the window and then moved to the long lens, and it was hard to speak looking through the zoom. Because I went straight where Christina went, and I was walking around down there on the surface, climbing and off-roading on that amazing terrain. I also want to underscore something that she said. As we continue to explore, when we actually do go down there to the surface, I know for safety reasons that we would never send someone alone, but I just want to really emphasize how important the discussion time was. When we started to talk, we not only got better science discussion, we got better human connection, and so doing this as a pair, we just learn and grow together, and that's just super important, so thank you for adding that to this plan. Reed just passed me a note that the Oriental Basin annular ring has a similar albedo to the center, but a different color. It has more brownish tones in it, and he said it's very distinct now that he's been staring at it.
Victor, thank you. You got a cheer from science there, and we all just went on that moonwalk with you, so highlighting how important it is to talk about these things. I also want to let you know that we have Deanna Glover with us in the viewing gallery. She's all smiles.
Well, you just got a bunch of cheers up here. Hey, babe. I love you from the moon.
We love that we got a hey babe too, and we also have one of your lovely daughters here watching you guys work.
Thank you guys for doing that and for supporting them through this. And to all of you, Genesis, Maya, Joya, and Corinne, I love you. And Deanna, I love you. I'm glad you get to be there.
We've had some really sweet words from the crew members aboard Orion today, as their families have been able to filter in and out of the viewing room here at Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston. Victor Glover also giving a great science sit rep and just a description of how it must feel if you were down on the lunar surface while he was looking through that 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. He also expressed how important it was to be able to talk through that real time with Christina Cook and stress the importance of that on future missions, that it not only made their discussions better, but also more human. Glover and Cook are in the support roles right now, not taking photos or making annotations at the windows, but they are also encouraged to have their midday meal at this time. Cook returned to the window portion of their flyby today. Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen will get into their midday meal. Again, this is the third of 5 scheduled blocks for our lunar viewing today, and if you were watching at the start of the broadcast, you can definitely tell the difference in the distance from the moon. We are now 5,518 miles away from the lunar surface, and again, expecting the crew to get about 4,066 miles away. They are currently 252,050 miles away from Earth, and every mile is a new record, having surpassed the Apollo 13 milestone for furthest distance earlier today.
di fare la pellaccia a casa.
If you look down to the bottom right of the moon in that darker looking area, that is Oriental Basin. We have continued to lose views of the near side. It is just barely visible over towards the bottom right side of your screen. And then you'll also hear later about that terminator. That's the line between light and darkness while on the moon. It is really exposing some of those craters at this time. A couple of the other features in view right now are Hertzsprung Basin and Vavilov Crater. Hertzsprung Basin is nearer to the center of the moon, closer to that terminator line right now, and Vavilov Crater is just on the outskirts of it, closer again to the terminator. Towards the bottom of the moon and to the left of the terminator line, or currently shadowed in darkness, is Apollo Basin.
Science from integrity. Let me find out how far we are from the moon right now. But our view is about a third of the moon is in eclipse. That beautiful terminator is out there calling to me. We're 4,691 miles from the moon. And what looked like in the terminator about a third of the way up from the southernmost part of the terminator looked like a dinosaur print if one was running to the northwest. Now is clearly a crater with a bunch of craters around it. And that terminator, I can only see about half of it. I'm looking through the docking hatch window right now because we have the Z9 in window 1. But that terminator has moved. I guess I've been using Vavilov the whole time, so it's gone. Two more Vavilov craters to the west, and so a few more features are starting to peek out into the sunlight there with that low sun angle, and so you still have ridges and valleys showing up very clearly, a very jagged terminator, and a few islands of light out there with some high elevation shining in the sunlight in that darkness. And on the eastern side of the moon, Grimaldi appears to be one of the farthest east features, and that is maybe 5 degrees from being right on the limb and going off over the horizon. It is interesting, just looking at Oriental, that my first impression of it is all of the dark areas appear lighter, which I think makes sense because it is now facing, it's still relatively the same to the sun, but my angle to it is different. So I'm looking at it from a little more, even further to the side as we pass it. But all the darker features appear to be just a little bit lighter from this vantage point. The darker ring structure in the outer and inner ring, and the interior, as well as the annular ring portion, everything seems to be just a smidge lighter at this point.
Thanks for that description, Ike. Any additional words you can provide on Oriental would be wonderful, as that is such a high priority target for us. And while I have you, as we get closer to target 15, which is the terminator target, if you can find Zeeman Crater again that you were looking at earlier, everything to your left of Zeeman would be getting into the South Pole Aiken area to help you orient yourself.
is a great waypoint out there. I definitely see it. Yeah, Zeeman is very easy to find, and that is awesome. Thank you for pointing that out. Feel free to do that as often as you think of things. Let's see, looking back at Oriental. Okay, another thing, after looking through the zoom camera, man, you guys are smart. You probably did this on purpose, but after looking with my plain eyes and then going to the 400 millimeter zoom, now looking at it, I see the cliff face as if you were standing in the center. That inner and outer ring have definitely some real terrain to them, and now I can see that as terrain. Now that I look at it even with my naked eye, I can tell that there's a lot of elevation and that, like I said, a cliff face on that eastern edge where all the darker deposits are. And it's just the scale now. Looking at it from far away before, it seemed like flat with color painted on it, but now that I look at it, I can definitely see that there is, different depositional characteristics, and so the darker is some other material, but there's also some shadowing going on because of the cliff face that is a part of that crater wall.
Great description, Victor. Thanks. And really interesting to hear now the distinction between shadow and color. Before I let you go back to other observations, you mentioned that Reed saw a browner hue to the annular ring than the rest of Oriental. Are you seeing that from your vantage point?
The way that I'm looking at Oriental, again, I'm still in the docking hatch window. There's like a thermocouple right here in the center of the window, and it is the orange Kapton tape color, and so it is unfortunately, it's like trying to look at stars, next to a metropolis. I think it's drowning out any color that I could pick up from the moon. I am not able to see that color, but I have not looked at it through one of the forward face, from one of the windows 1 through 4. I think when I get away from this Kapton tape strip that I would be able to see the variation that Reed's talking about.
That is great feedback operationally. Thanks, Victor. I'll leave you to it.
Science integrity with a question from the window team.
Integrity, this is Science here with you.
Yes, they have a question to help inform a theory that they're sort of tossing back and forth. What is older, the Mare seas of the near side or Oriental?
Stand by, Integrity. We're going to get you a little geologic history here.
Bisogna quanti crateri stanno dentro il mare orientale, ce ne stanno tanti di più vecchi dei mari che vediamo noi. No, certo una risposta possono dargli astronauti. Si possono mettere a contatto, poi dovrebbero entrare in orbita alla Luna e starci un anno per contarli tutti. Mo stiamo arrivando alla dicotomia e questi mi mettono un'immagine piccola. Su via. $58 minuti. al giro dietro, la distanza sta ancora continuando, spariamo la risoluzione massima, deve essere capace.
Integrity Science back with you for some lunar volcanism when you're ready.
Go ahead.
You're making our day down here getting to talk about lunar volcanoes. Oriental, as far as mare go, is younger than almost all of the mare on the near side. The exception are features like Aristarchus, which really pop out to you guys and really pop out to us here on Earth. That is younger, but other than that, Oriental is pretty young as far as mare go.
Va bene, un mare giovane. Queste sono le teorie dei...
And Kelsey, thanks for that. We love lunar volcanism too. How about when the actual crater was formed?
Non certo vulcanismo.
Yeah, we're going to get you an age for Oriental, and while we're getting that, Christina, can you, maybe you've heard the window team talk about the sort of contacts around Oriental, but because that material is so much younger, if anything pops out to you about physical relationship between that and surrounding terrain, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, definitely. They are discussing a contact relationship that could explain some of the color that they're seeing in certain areas. And so it was really about the ejecta of the creation of the basin and understanding the superposition of its ejecta and mare on the near side or other features. So thank you. We'll take the insight when you have it.
Thank you, Integrity. Thank you, Integrity.
Copy that. So that's on the older side. The actual basin is very old.
Correct, as is the case with a lot of mare. Typically the big basin formed, and then the volcanic eruption was able to punch through the crust where it was weakened by that basin formation.
Perfect. Tracking. Thank you.
NASA astronaut Christina Cook calling down some questions to the science team on console. The voice you're hearing with those answers is Dr. Kelsey Young. She is joined by Trevor Graff on console today. Christina asking about the age of Oriental, and specifically the mare regions. Those are those dark regions that you see. They are paved or filled by volcanic deposits.
Beh, Volcanic Deposits però è stato squarciato la crosta, per cui è uscito fuori, non è che è uno spontaneo vulcanismo. Tra l'altro il mare orientale, che tutti questi anelli testimoniano che il botto è stato veramente forte.
Better answer. better answer.
Integrity, it's about time for a position swap at the window. So we will ask Reed and Jeremy to swap positions. And I'll remind you again about your SD cards. And Victor or Christina, I have one window task for the cabin team when you're ready.
They are swapping, and I'm ready.
All right, Tina, we found a way that we can reinstall the shroud on the window. We understand it's pretty darn bright compared to everything that you're looking at. So in order to reinstall it, we will ask that you retrieve the condensation hose and you install it on a friction fit on the cabin air outlet port. That's right by one of your diffusers. You're going to point that little condensation hose such that the air is flowing over the window pane. Let me know when you're ready for the stowage location.
Ready.
Christina, the hose is in locker A1.
The crew has gotten a go to reinstall that window shroud they were using to block some of the earth shine.
Copy.
This view coming from inside the Orion spacecraft as the crew members are swapping windows, specifically Reed Wiseman and Jeremy Hansen. They've been our crew members at the windows taking photos, making annotations, and making recordings that'll be downlinked later to the science team for review. The science team will have a conference tomorrow morning with the crew to get any fresh perspectives or things that they learned during the flyby. Again, we are now in the third of 5 observation blocks for the crew scheduled for today. During this flyby, Orion is passing around between 4,000 and 6,000 miles from the moon and providing the crew with a full view of the lunar surface. It's a higher vantage point and much farther than Apollo's lunar orbits on average. So from this view, astronauts can observe both the North and South Pole and large-scale geologic features in one single view. We are now just under an hour until Orion passes behind the moon, and we lose communication with the crew. They will be out of reach with any of our deep space network antennas. That loss of signal will last about 40 minutes, and we expect to regain communications with them once they fly behind the other side of the moon. While they are behind the moon, they will also reach their max Earth altitude as well as their closest approach to the lunar surface. The view you have right now is a live stream from a camera on Orion's solar arrays. You are looking at a live view of the moon, and 4 people are inside that spacecraft taking pictures of it, telling us everything that they are seeing. The first humans to do so in over 50 years. They'll be sending those pictures down. It appears the Artemis 2 spacecraft, Orion, is now under 5,000 miles away from the moon. Again, we expect their closest distance to the moon be about 4,066 miles.
I 1500 km sta a 8000 adesso, sta molto lento. Fa un chilometro più o meno 2 secondi e mezzo. E deve fare 1500. Quindi ci manca circa il doppio, 3000 secondi, quasi un'ora. Però in quest'ora la navicella andrà dietro la Luna e quindi perderemo i contatti radio, mentre loro si fanno le foto alla corona solare occultata dalla Luna. In realtà loro potrebbero occultarla da qualunque altra cosa, un pannello solare. Sarà morto principalmente qua. Stanno aspettando la closest distance to the moon, about 3000 secondi, mezz'ora, tre quarti d'ora. Forse 45 minuti potrebbe andare. L'outbound, quello che va verso l'esterno, sta per finire. La fine risponde al flyby, poi c'è l'inbound. Switchare sulla Luna. Mo' è l'economia sicura. Sono isolati. Anche la NASA. Abbiamo fatto queste strade. Possibile che abbiamo perso già contatto radio con loro? Adesso sì. Bisogna 23, 51, 54, 3, vabbè, mentre loro faranno una cosa. 205.000 persone.
Helpful for us.
Really great descriptions coming from
Science, the window team is hitting all the targets. They are on the plan and starting the discussion of the Terminator. And boy, I'm loving the Terminator. I think I know it's not purely a moon feature, but what it does to the features of the moon, to the terrain. I've probably spent the most time describing into my recordings and thinking about and looking at the Terminator. There's just so much magic in the Terminator. The islands of light, the valleys, what look like black holes, you'd fall straight to the center of the moon. If you stepped in some of those, it's just so visually captivating that the Terminator is the most striking thing that I've seen so far.
We've been loving your evocative descriptions, Victor. You really are bringing us along with you, and we're following along with visualizations that pale in comparison to your descriptions. Thanks. Integrity Science, one more question on a status of what the window team chose to observe for crew choice.
Possiamo chiamare il protagonista e interrompiamo la prima registrazione. Ore 56 del 6 aprile.